Hello out there and welcome back. Hope if you had Thanksgiving, that your Thanksgiving was pleasant. We, for the first time, didn't actually cook a turkey, but bought one pre-cooked. This was one of those fried turkeys. Never tried that before. And I thought, well, it's just going to taste like, chicken fried something. And as it turns out, it was really very tender and juicy, and we'll never cook a turkey on our own again, according to my wife. She spent all day cooking all the other stuff, desserts and side dishes and stuff like that. So it was worth having it done instead of having to do it ourselves and spend all night the night before and all day the day of in order to get this on the table. But otherwise, the family was together. It was nice for us. I was talking with some friends yesterday, and one is still working, and he was talking about just how badly the company he works for is run. He's been there quite a few years, and doesn't seem like they've ever done anything right, and it's amazing that they still make money. And I always thought I'd want a job like that, running a company that doesn't do anything and doesn't really need any kind of sense to run, and still make big money out of it. It sounded like a fantasy that I've always had. I could be just as incompetent as anybody else. Why couldn't I get a job like that? However, I'm reminded of a friend of mine who had exactly the opposite problem. I had a friend, his name was George. We went to school together for a long time, ever since junior high, middle school. And we were in a lot of classes together, and you never know how people are going to turn out. But in college, he and I were the first people of that graduating class to get our FCC licenses. At that time, in order to talk on the radio, you had to have a license. It was a Element 1, 2, and 9 with a broadcast endorsement. And so we went to the FCC office, which was in town at the time, and we arrived at the same time. We took the test at the same time. And the way they did it at the time was you had to make 70% in order to pass. But if you didn't pass, they wouldn't tell you how close you came. And if you did pass, they wouldn't tell you how close you came either. So we took the test. We both did fine on it. And he almost immediately went to work for a station out in the sticks. A little bit later, I found a job at my first station as well. And so things went pretty well for us. He was at a small station, and it was so small that he was immediately put on as the morning guy. And the morning guy is basically the top spot in most radio stations. And so he did that for a little while. It was an old homemade station, basically. The transmitter was made out of spare parts. The studios were in a single wide trailer out in the middle of the woods, and the equipment was Museum of Broadcast quality. I was in a similar situation. We were in town, but the station had equipment that probably hadn't been replaced since 1950. And by this time, it was like 1976. Anyway, time goes on, and we both eventually become station managers, and he's hired on at this station in town that has just been sold. A lot of radio stations when we started were mom and pop operations. And so, and you tended to know most of them. I knew a lot of them that as they went into other businesses even later, because, you knew who they were. There was a person that ran the station over here and a person that's there that was on the station over here. And if you met one of them, you'd eventually meet all of them, and you always knew that you'd have work. If somebody got tired of you, you could just move over to the next station, just give a call and say, hey, you got an opening. So my friend George bounced around the market, and eventually this station was sold, and they got brand new studios and brand new equipment, and they hired him on as station manager. And so he proceeded for about a year to do this. And we were friendly with each other. We would go over to the station he was at. He'd come over to the station I was at. We'd go on the air and make jokes and stuff like that. And then he was fired unexpectedly. And the reason was that the company that bought the station that he was managing had brought him in with the thought that they wouldn't make any money. And he was actually a good broadcaster. He figured out the way to balance the books and make the station profitable, and didn't know that the company wanted a write-off, and so they fired him. He later went on to another town and started back over there, and we've heard from him since, but that was essentially the situation that's there. So I suppose the moral of the story isn't a moral at all. It's sometimes that there are people who lose money for a company and stay on, and people that make money for a company and get fired. Business is a strange thing, isn't it? Well, I hope that you will like and subscribe to our channel. And next week we'll be talking about a project that we have going on here at the house. Hopefully we'll have some information and pictures for you to see. So until then, don't go far.